Welcome to the Embrace the Awkward podcast, where we have one goal in mind, and that is to help you handle awkward better. I'm Mike. This
I'm
is Kyle.
Kyle.
That's Kyle. Thank you guys for watching, listening. You guys are changing our lives. I was able to buy a brand new 2004
Wow.
Easy Go golf cart.
There you go. We're making tens of dollars with this podcast.
Yes, it is awesome. Thank you guys for watching and listening. We are here to discuss video games again, right? We
Again,
we had a very long last episode on video games, and we have a lot more to say. And this one will kind of answer some hard questions, right? Like questions that you're probably thinking about, or if you're not, somebody in your congregation will probably ask at some
yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And so our goal is just to help you handle that a little bit better. And Kyle has a really great story that he should share.
We are both pro video games. We play
Yep.
video games in our free time and for ministry. You have a video game area in your youth ministry. I have a video game center in my ministry. So it's hard to think like, oh, video games and ministry, how could that be? But I grew up in a youth ministry that had foosball and ping pong and pool
Hmm.
in ministry. I mean, the pool table started in bars, right? It
Yeah.
was a thing that you do around when you drink, and now teenagers are doing it in youth ministry. So I don't think it's too far of a leap. But I didn't view video games as a ministry until I experienced. I was playing the second Halo. Um, it could be the third Halo. It's been a while, but 20 years ago. And I did an internship in Illinois when I was in college, and I met this kid named Jake. Jake was awesome. I had a lot of fun that summer. Fast forward 6 months, I left the internship because it was only 10 weeks, and him and I are kind of playing on Halo. And Halo, you have this ability where you can chat with your teammates. Okay, and so we're on the same team, and we're kind of shooting up, and we're hopping in Warthogs, which is like a vehicle, and driving around. And Jake is shares with me, hey man, my parents are getting a divorce. And he literally said, I think it's my fault. And I'm like, oh, and I didn't know what to do. I'm like, we're playing video games now. I'm not in ministry mindset. I'm
Hmm.
in relaxed mindset. So then I put on my ministry hat and I'm like, oh, okay. We're getting into it. So we talked a bit about that, and he just says, "Man, I could should sure use some prayer." And I was like, okay, let me call you. Let's hang out. He's like, no, let's do it right now. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah. So I followed him in a little home base. Blood Gulch is what's the name of it. And we get into our home base, and he points his gun on the floor. Okay, because everywhere you go, you're like this. You can't unhook your gun. And I point my gun on the floor, and he's like, yeah, let's pray right now. I'm like, okay. So I start praying. I was praying hard. Okay, I was doing everything I can, praying and praying about Jake and his family, and saying how much God loves him and all of that. And an enemy comes in the base and starts shooting us up. And and Jake yells at him, "Hey, we're praying." And I thought, okay, that's not gonna happen. We're gonna have to shoot him, and then I'm gonna have to go back to prayer. And the guy goes, "Oh, sorry," and he backs away. And then and then I finish praying, and then we say amen, and then we continue going. And it was one of those surreal events, like, okay, did that just happen? Did I do ministry? Like, I didn't know. Will God answer that prayer? Um,
Yeah.
and so it's just one of those things where then I knew, okay, we're in a different world, and anything could be used for God's glory.
Yeah.
And I do think it helped Jake. Now, there was other times we talked multiple times after that, and I hope he's doing well. It's been a while since I've talked to him, but he was okay praying in a public game. And man, if we were in a restaurant and he said, let's pray right now, I would be just as proud. So it's just one of those things where I think video games and ministry can overlap a lot more than it has. And that's kind of what we want to do is kind of discuss how do we do that. We're not
Mhm.
necessarily here to warn you on all the dangers of video games. If you want to hear all of that because they're out there, you can research or you can probably conclude. But how do we navigate those dangerous waters and not fall victim or kind of get overwhelmed with all the negative stuff
Right.
and still move forward?
Right. So it's our job as youth workers, youth pastors. We have to do our own research, and this might work. Once again, we always disclaim this may work really well for one group and maybe not so much for another, right?
Yeah.
If you have a youth group where you know a lot of your parents aren't letting their kids play video games, well, we
Yeah.
probably, that's maybe not the avenue you're ready to open yet.
Yeah.
Uh, but if you know that this is something that your students are currently engaging with, especially at a high level, my question and challenge for you is what are you waiting for? And so that's kind of what we're hoping to bring up in a little bit of discussion. If you didn't get a chance, listen to our last episode. We talked. We had a little bit more fun. The last episode was probably a little more fun than this one. This one is definitely still fun, but
It's more practical.
it is very, very practical in a ministry sense. And so, Kyle, I have some awkward questions I want to ask you because I'm a parent of a student in
Okay.
your youth ministry.
Okay. I got it. I'm putting on my youth pastor hat.
All right. Pastor Kyle,
Yeah.
is it a sin to have sex in a video game? Because my student,
Whoa, you're going straight for me. Okay.
my my student, my child, he was playing a video game.
Oh, baby.
He was playing a video game, and I walked into his room, and there were two two
You're getting very
NPCs
specific. Right?
under the covers.
Okay. And
Is
they
that
weren't playing patty cake. Got it.
They were not playing patty cake? Is that a sin?
Okay, so here's what's interesting. The world of video games is also like the worlds that we live in. There are things that are inappropriate that Christian or non-Christian should participate in. Like sexual stuff, that's all falls under the sin category for me. Now,
Hmm.
some people might debate with that, but let's say you're watching a sexual scene that could be pornography.
Yeah.
If you think about it, even though you're not physically participating in that moment,
Right.
that doesn't mean your heart and your eyes and everything else isn't affected, especially your soul. So there's realms
Mhm.
in the video game world that yes, I would put that in the category. But here's the thing: that question and others like it, it's good to ask, especially for discussion realm with the students, because they might not know the difference between the real world and the digital worlds. And
Yeah.
so you need to help discern that. So, as a parent, I would say yes. That's probably not a game anyone, let alone a student who's under 18, should be playing or
Yeah,
participating
for
in.
sure.
And I would take that away from them. Does that
That's
answer
a
your
good
question?
idea. Yeah, that's awesome because yeah, for me, I remember, listen, as we said in the last video game episode, just because we are sharing an example does not mean we condone it.
Yeah.
Learn from our mistakes,
Oh,
learn
video
from our
games are safe.
parents' mistakes, right? I remember getting GTA San Andreas,
Yes.
and
Talk about a game that's
uh,
popular but should not be played.
and I was playing it and I was having a great time. Then you drive by this place called the Pig Pen. And I remember being like, what the heck? This is a new landmark. You got to go inside. And I remember being like, whoa. You know, as a
That's not what I normally see in this
This
world.
is not what I was expecting. And so my mom walked in the room and was like, whoa, 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 what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. She said, you can play this game, but you're not allowed to walk in there. And I was like,
So, Mike,
all
let me
right.
ask you this. I want your opinion on this because I've asked students when we do a Bible study, and I've done a video game Bible study
Mhm.
where it's a Bible study over Zoom while we're playing video games. Is it a sin to kill someone in a video game?
Yeah, it's a good question. Uh, I think
What's your
th-
gut thoughts? Your thoughts on that?
there's a lot of gut thought there. think about just all of the video games in total, like, and just like a total viewpoint. Were we really worried about killing a mushroom in Mario?
Yeah, you're stomping on. Yeah,
You
yeah,
stomp on them, they die, right? We assume they die. What else would happen, right?
yep,
Um, different James Bond. We talked about GoldenEye in the last episode,
yeah,
right? You're killing people. Call of Duty, right? You are killing people. Fortnite, you are killing people.
yep,
Um, Listen, there's a lot of games today that involve um, an aspect of eliminating or killing, whatever you want to say. And so there's a lot that goes into it, but my gut instinct,
yeah.
and you feel free to disagree with me, Kyle. I don't think so.
Okay.
Because what it comes down to for me is where's your heart at on that? You
Yeah.
know, you're not loading up a video game to be like, I'm gonna go kill a whole bunch of innocent people on this video game, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever.
Usually it's to win an object. I'm going to go steal the
Yes.
flag, or I'm
Yes.
going to take over this territory. And in doing so, I have to kill some other
Right.
digital video people,
Now,
right?
I do think if you're not able to tell the difference between the real world and the digital world, it does, I think, become sinful. If you cannot draw the line between what's real and what's not, and all of a sudden you start letting that impact your life in that kind of a way, it will become sinful. But I think at its purest base form, I don't think it's a sin to play Call of Duty. I don't think it's a sin to play Fortnite. Now, what does that mean for youth ministry? Here in my case, I let my students play Fortnite. There's no blood and gore in Fortnite. So we let them play Fortnite. I do not let them play Call of Duty. I
Yep.
let them know that, hey, if you want to play Call of Duty with me later, like after youth group, great. It's not something that we're gonna do here. So that's my gut instinct when I'm asked that question.
No, this is good because we are the same thing. We allow Roblox, we allow Fortnite, Minecraft. There's zombies in Minecraft.
Right?
Um, a- and the reason, and here's our rule, because we wanted, like, why is that? This is a gray area. Some people
Mhm.
are not comfortable with even Fortnite, and that's okay. So that needs to be decided with your own church and your own leadership and even your own parents. Our rule is this: we allow cartoon-like violence. Think of Looney Tunes, not real-world violence.
Right.
Call of Duty is a real-world violence.
Yeah.
Fortnite, you're dressed up as Bart Simpson, all right, running around with a trash gun that shoots snowballs and it kills
Yeah.
people. So
Hmm.
it's not in the real world. That's cartoon-like violence. Looney Tunes is an extremely violent cartoon, and yet we're totally fine with it.
Yeah.
So that's our line. It doesn't mean it needs to be the line for everyone else. And when you're doing a video game ministry, you have to come up with these arbitrary lines because it's uncharted territory. Like video games,
Hmm.
uncharted mission field, and so you there's not a rule out there, and it really requires your discernment and your discussion. So don't
Yeah.
just go in like all video games are safe or no video game is safe. It's usually both.
Yeah.
Um, so here's a question I love asking because it gets to even a grayer area.
Yeah.
What about anger? If you get angry while playing a video game, is that a sin?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where I think once again for me, it's if if your heart is turning hard when you're playing the video game, right? Like you are just you're getting red in the face. You can't once again, you can't separate the digital from the real life. If you can't separate that, then yeah, I do think that does become sinful. And it's okay to be frustrated and like, dang, I didn't win.
Gosh darn it.
Ah, man. If you're throwing a controller at your TV, throwing your phone across the room,
Rage quitting is what you're talking
yeah,
about.
yeah, rage quitting. If it's affecting you to that point, it's probably time to lay off a little bit. Go
Okay.
take a break.
So is this a sin? You're playing Monopoly and you've landed on go to jail for a third time in a row, and you get so mad you throw the board game off the table. Is that a sin?
I think you know, I think at that point you're probably mad at the dice.
Right?
Right. Like I do think it's a little bit different. Like if you're playing with friends and they keep killing you over and over and over again, and you're like, I hate you. You're the worst. Like the Bible, I think, does speak into that. But when it comes to like Monopoly, I see the correlation, and I'm not sure how to feel about it because
It's
inherently,
there's not a right answer.
it doesn't seem like it's that bad of a deal. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I do know somebody who I heard a story. They were playing Monopoly, and he hates losing at Monopoly, and he flipped a table and was ready to fight.
Yeah. He was Jesus in the temple, man. He was
Yeah,
just
just flipping the thing, money everywhere,
yeah. And
properties.
and that's what's interesting is for whatever reason, I don't know if our society has not caught up or it's actually a legit difference. But when we play board games or like chess, when I eliminate another player's chess piece, I am killing that player chess piece.
Yeah,
That piece can't come on board. It's killing. Eliminate kill could be the same thing. We don't have that emotional attachment than if I am shooting another non-playable character NPC and
mhm,
it eliminates for whatever
yeah,
reason because of the gun or because of the knife or whatever we do. I get that. It's messy. I'm not looking for a right answer. I think your answer is good. It's just one of those weird things that video games is closer to real life than board games. And so
yeah.
I think it impacts us more. But at the same time, it doesn't mean everything we experience is a sin or not a sin.
Right.
And you said it very well. If we can't distinguish between healthy, like digital behaviors and non-digital
Mhm.
behaviors, like in the real world, we have those blurred, that's when we get in trouble.
Yeah.
That's
But,
we lose our
yeah.
reality.
Another element that we forgot to talk about in the last episode, and we won't spend hopefully not a lot of time on it,
Yeah.
but there is a virtual reality aspect to gaming,
VR.
which makes it so much more real. Right? You are
Ah,
physically, you have these goggles on and you are in
yeah.
the game. The motions that you make, the things that you do,
You can walk around.
you're a part of it. Like you are in it. You can buy things. You can There are people who load into a life simulator. They
Yep.
put on their VR headset, they go to their VR job, they go to their VR home, they see their VR
Like the
dog,
movie Ready
cats.
Player One. You saw that?
Yeah,
Ready Player
yeah,
One?
mhm,
Just like
yeah.
that.
Very, very much so. They have a separate life on this VR headset, right? All of a sudden, these two lines between digital and real, they're colliding, which
Yeah.
makes it even harder for people to decide and in their brain what is real and what's not. And so it speaks into all aspects when we talk about you have to be able to, with all things, be able to separate what's real and what's not.
Yeah. And so video games and having a video game ministry has allowed me to talk about some deep, complicated issues with teenagers I never thought would ever be deep.
Yeah.
Um, asking, and so some of the questions that we talked about is okay, is it a sin to have sex in a video game? When you kill someone in a video game, is that a sin? If you're angry and you wish them dead, is that a sin? Those are three questions that could have some really good discussion because not
Yeah.
everyone's going to agree. And the Bible is not clearly direct, like this is a sin, this not, because they didn't have video games back then.
No.
So, before we get into how can we do our own video game ministry, and how can we move into this, I
Hmm.
want to share about the three R's. And I don't remember, I didn't come up with this, but I don't remember where I heard this. Um, but I heard this on a podcast many, many years ago. And so it says, okay, and it's Christians when dealing with something from the culture. It could be anything. It could be a movie. It could be a video games, a board game. It could be a new book. Okay, whatever it is, you have three choices. You either receive it, reject it, or redeem it.
Hmm.
Receive, reject, or redeem. So you could receive it. You could greet and welcome it. Yep. Oh man, we got this new flavor of Mountain Dew. Did you see this new? I'm not joking. It's cream soda Mountain Dew. Have you seen that, Mike?
Last night at youth group for the very first time,
I thought I had a cup or a can with me.
I
Go ahead.
I I saw it sitting on a table. Yes, dirty Mountain Dew, and I was like, "We do not sell that in our snack shack. Where'd that come from?" And I was like, "It was during uh students were getting ready to start worship, and so I was looking over my message and stuff, and
Yeah.
I saw it there. And listen, I have not drank soda since Thanksgiving. I so badly,
Ew.
thank you, still drinking my Alani's and Ghosts though. So yeah, listen, it's a
Hey,
pride thing.
it works for you. We're in the no
It's-
judgment zone. Okay.
yeah, and so I saw it, and I so badly wanted to take a drink, but I didn't. I wanted to
Yeah.
try it though. Kyle, how is it?
It's good. I like cream soda,
Yeah,
and I mean, I got my cream soda right here. All right. And I like Mountain Dew. I love Mountain Dew more, actually. And
yeah,
mixing it is not bad. It doesn't replace Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew still is the
yeah.
OG king. But if I want a pinch and I want something super sweet, I do that. So
Okay.
for me, some people might hate it, but it's not necessarily a sin to drink dirty Mountain Dew or cream soda Mountain Dew. So I greet and welcome it. That's receive it. The
Yeah,
second one is reject. You dismiss, you discard, you ignore it. This is something you should reject. Grand Theft Auto or Doom video game or some video games that are definitely not appropriate. You should
yeah,
reject it. And that's something that Christians should not lean into or fully embrace everything in the video game world. And there's some things you should flat out reject. And it's okay
yeah,
to stand up for your principles. I have a lot of people who know I'm a pastor, but also play video games. They know that I don't swear around them or at anywhere.
mhm,
I don't swear anywhere. And so they actually will turn down a video or a video game around me if it has swear words in it, just because I don't ask them to do that, but they just know, okay,
yeah,
yep, he's a little different. So there are video games I just don't allow our students to play in any form. And I'm not going to change my mind on that. Grand Theft Auto is one of them.
yeah.
The third thing is you got receive and reject. And the third thing is redeem. Basically, it means to compensate for its faults and give it a new purpose.
Okay.
So, can you redeem something? I think video games can be redeemed. I think Roblox can be redeemed because Roblox into itself is like a phone. It's a tool. It could be used for bad or for good. And it's up
Yeah.
to you on how you're going to redeem it, how you're going to compensate for its faults, how you're going to give it a new purpose. We've decided to use video games as a connecting opportunity to the community. That's how we're redeeming it. All right. So receive, reject, and redeem. Here's an example, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Mike.
Yeah.
Musical styles. Okay. Over the years, the church has received new musical styles and projectors. When I was growing up in the Baptist church I was growing up in, I had the very important job of changing the overheads when the worship. So we still had
Yeah.
overheads because projectors are those crazy liberal churches. And so we didn't use projectors. We had overheads. But
Hmm.
after a while, we we started to think, oh, okay, receiving it. That helps us. Now, almost every church I go to has some kind of projector or TV on the wall,
Right.
and there's no overheads. Rejection could be inappropriate movies, could be pornography, could be extreme violence,
Hmm.
anything. You just reject it. You don't need to have discussion. It's just bad.
Yeah.
And then redeem is cell phones, TV shows, sports, books in education. There are some books that are not necessarily bad, but they need to be redeemed. And you and I might need to say, okay, how can we handle this?
Hmm.
Social media is a great redeemed aspect. More people has come to social media and more people has been hurt by social media.
Yeah.
So social media can be redeemed if you actually intentionally put effort into that redemption. So, thoughts on that? What do you think?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. There are things that we know that, you know, we as a church, we know are appropriate right away. And right, those are the receives, those are And it's different based on your congregation and your church leadership. So don't think just because it's received well in our churches that your church is going to react the same way. Because as
Yeah.
I talked about in the last episode, I worked at a church before this one where video games were not going to be allowed to be put up, right? And so
You didn't even ask. You just were told no.
I just said, "Hey, video games are not happening here," and I was just like, "Guess I'm quitting." So, just kidding. I didn't. It was, and so, um, and once again, there are things that we have to reject. There are things that culture gives us that we can't do anything with. We bring up like pornography, like if you're having a sermon series on porn and lust, you're not going to show an illustration of that. You know what I mean? There's no
Yeah.
redeeming that.
Yeah.
There's no way, and we know that. Um,
I
but
don't
it
need to
is
have a cigarette to know it's going to cause cancer.
right. If I'm
I don't
not
need to experience
if I'm
everything.
talking about vaping, I'm not going to bring a vape up and be like, "Look, guys, this sucks."
Yeah. Don't
You
do
know?
this.
Yes, it's not good, and we have to be focused though on this redemption part because as social media can be redeemed, video games can be redeemed. Most importantly, right? Because of Jesus, we are also redeemed, and we
Hmm.
can't look past that um, that lesson, right? As broken as we are as human beings, as broken as our world is, it is being redeemed, and there will be a day to where the world is fully redeemed, right? When Jesus comes back,
Yeah.
and so as youth workers, youth pastors our goal, I feel like, with a lot of these things should always be redemption in any aspect of ministry. If there's a chance for restoration or redemption, in a lot of cases, that's usually the route that you would want to go, pending
Yeah.
it's something that is a rejection.
Yeah.
And so we have to really be careful, but we need to keep our minds open to seeing what our culture is using and how can we, if it is something that maybe is has a little bit of a negative tone, how can we use it for good?
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where it's so popular, video games are, and it's so unknown, it's hard for where should you start in
Hmm.
this. So the first thing is I'm going to go out and get a PS2 because if I found it at Goodwill, and so I'm going to go ahead and play this game. And there's this really cool thing, called Doom, and we'll just plug it in. So we need to be very careful with that. I think the internet has some really good resources.
Hmm.
Google plugged in website,
Hmm.
pluggedin.com, I think, is a Christian website where it gives you advice about movies and video games. And if you want to know what's inappropriate, particularly video games, just Google that. Contact us. We would love to kind of give some
Yeah.
updates. We don't know every single video game, but there is some ranking of video games out there, like
Hmm.
T for teen. So like 13 and older should be okay with that, but younger's not because they have some kind of violence in there. M for maturity. Usually there is some kind of language or violence or sex. There's some games you should avoid. And then there's G, that's like general audience for everyone. So
Hmm.
let's dive in and talk about how we can use some video games. So, really quick, what do you do? Just a quick summary of your video games. Like, how do you use video games for ministry?
For us, this is like once again, we especially for our guys, we talked about this in the last episode, is this is how guys are connecting before a youth group. They show up, they turn on college football or Madden or 2K. They sit there and play an intense game. You got like five or six people just standing there watching, and they're rooting for different guys.
Yeah. So
Um,
two or three people are playing or whatever, but other people are watching it and still
yes,
participating. Okay.
yes, and
Yep.
so for us, strict as of right now, the our main way of using video games is strictly relational.
Okay.
I wouldn't say like for lack of terms, when you dunk on somebody in 2K and baptize them. It's not correlating to real life. Okay, not yet. But that's not our goal, and
Yeah,
that's not
that's
our
also
vision
happened.
with it,
Yeah.
right? Kyle and I have two different video game
Ministries.
ministries. Okay, mine is once again it's used more for just relational and a way for students to relax after school and to be able to do something that they like to do. And Kyle will talk about his in a minute. And so we've it's allowed me to connect with some students that I haven't talked to or gotten to know very well.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. For our ministry, we have a gaming ministry. So this is a full-fledged ministry with
Mhm.
volunteers. We have streaming. We do tournaments where we invite the community, and we have hundreds. Our last Smash Bros. Tournament, we had close to 100 participants and 250 people at the event watching it
Mhm.
throughout the day. Um, and we have Rocket League tournaments. We have hangout nights where we just have. So a lot of our college students they come back from Christmas break and they just want to game, and they didn't
Yeah.
necessarily bring their system back with them. So we open it up and we have from like 7 to midnight just a gaming center for college students, and they come and play
Yeah.
video games.
Sweet.
So ours is relational, but it's also we have some opportunities. So here's what I would think two things to start of how can you start a video game industry? So two levels. One, it depends on your budget. My budget happens to be bigger. We have 10 computers, 4 Xboxes, 6 different Switches. So we have the budget to put up TVs and have a
Hmm.
whole gaming center on that. Mike's budget probably is a little bit less. And so you tend to be more relational route. So
Hmm.
there's two different routes to go on. If you have the budget to get a nice TV, and a nice TV is about 40 inches or bigger, right, Mike?
I mean, yeah, you don't want anything like crazy big,
Right. And you don't want something too small where people.
unless it's something that like six or more people are playing.
Right. Right.
If something like Just Dance or stuff on the Switch, you might want a bigger TV.
With
But
more people.
right, stuff like college football and Madden, at least get yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, you can get a 50-inch TV for 150 bucks.
Yep.
And you can get a 45 probably for like $98. So if you
Now,
need to go that route, it's totally okay.
right. I
Um,
I would
but
say you buy a TV or you have a TV already.
Mhm.
You buy I recommend Xbox. So Xbox over PlayStation, and here's why. Xbox tend to do better and works with PCs because it's owned by Microsoft, and a lot of PCs have the Microsoft operating system. But
Mhm.
Xbox tend to be better in multiplayer. PlayStations tend to be really good games, but they're single player, not necessarily online.
Mhm.
And I like Xbox just because it was easier, and I can
Mhm.
hook up an Xbox controller with the PC.
Mhm.
Would you say that? Would you agree with that?
I agree with you, but I would argue this, and this is the
Okay.
Dr. Pepper of the Pepsi and the
Yeah.
Coke situation. If you're starting out and you do not have any video games in your ministry, and maybe your church isn't so sure, maybe they're giving you one opportunity to prove yourself. I totally recommend starting with a Nintendo Switch.
That's a good point. That's a good
Um,
point. Yep.
and I say that because one, you more people can play at a time on one device. There are more family friendly games
Yep.
that are
Yep.
able to be played, and you do not need a subscription to play online.
Right.
If to do any online stuff, and there are just a lot more. Once again, things that we would consider party games, right?
Yeah.
Multiple people, and so you're pretty safe on most of those games. Now, still double check, but with Xbox and PlayStation, you do have to spend more time researching some of those
They're
video
more for
games.
yeah. Yeah. I would say
If
they're more for
you,
gamers.
but if you want to attract students, like based off of this, PlayStations are and Xboxes are really good, and I would agree with you on what you said about Xbox.
Yeah. So let's start over because I think if you have nothing and you have a middle school and high school ministry combined and it's more middle school, start off with a Switch.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's a Switch 1, which now you can get pretty cheap because it's an older
Yeah,
model, and there's a Switch 2, which just came out this year,
yeah.
or last year. Anyways, within a year, and that's
Yeah,
probably, I don't know, $500, $600. But
yeah.
a Switch One you can buy on Facebook, even if it's used. Each game is about $50 to $60.
Hmm.
So I would just start off with one or two games, Super Smash Bros. And Mario Kart. That's the
Yeah,
safe, those two bet.
yeah.
The dance, is it not Dance Dance Revolution? It's Just Dance.
Yeah, Just Dance. Yeah.
Yeah, Just Dance.
It's careful if it's good if you're careful, and you have an eye on it, you
Yeah,
know.
because the song selection.
Yep.
And then get a TV. And what we used to do, we have a gaming center room, so we just lock up the whole room when we're done. So when we're done, and it has all glass on the wall, so it's super easy. What do you do with your Nintendos? Do you put them away at the end of the night? How do you protect it?
No, I just let them stay on. Like they're there until the end of the night. And so our students do a really good job of,
But do
hey,
you have a youth room during the week? Is it used, or like do you put it away, or do
I
you
just
leave it
leave it
out?
I just leave it out.
Look
And
at
so
you, a
uh
small town. I
small
love that.
town stuff, yeah.
I grew up in a small town, never locked my doors.
Very much so. And so so the switch that we use is like belongs to me. It's mine.
Okay.
I don't play it a whole bunch, and it's something obviously. Now the nice part is I have decided that if a student breaks a controller or game, the church will pay for that,
Yeah, yeah.
which is good. But I probably wouldn't bring my own stuff all the time if I don't have the but if you, let me go back. If you do not have the budget to maintain this,
Yeah.
controllers get a thing called stick drift, to where if you're going, maybe you're trying to get your player to go left, and maybe he just goes a little bit to the right or a little more left than you would have liked. Controllers wear out,
Yeah.
systems wear out, game cartridges for like the Switch, or if you're using disc games for some reason. Please go digital if you're using this for youth ministry. You'll save your ministry a lot of money.
Yeah.
But make sure it's something once again that you can maintain, because it does take there will become a time to where it can get a little bit expensive.
If you're not buying used, I would budget $500 to launch this,
Yeah.
500 to $1,000 to launch a relational, just a video game, a Nintendo Switch with a TV and
Hmm.
controllers and the game. If you do a good job of putting it away and monitoring it, it shouldn't
Yeah.
walk off, but
Yeah.
that happens. So the first thing is which level you want to go full out ministry, and I'm going to offer tournaments to the city and everything else, or more relational oriented before youth group. It's a fun opportunity, like you do foosball. Get this instead. And the second thing is, do you have permission from your leaders? So talk to your direct report, your executive pastor, your lead pastor, and to say, here's what I would like to do. And if you have those two things in mind, then you can move forward for what's next.
Yeah.
But don't move forward like, hey, I got this switch, and your lead pastor's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So have that conversation, and they're gonna ask, and don't be defensive. Like, what do you mean? Like video games are all bad? Not all video games. Like, calm down and understand. This is a great practice way to. You have to have your answers in lockstep and
Yeah.
to say, how are you going to defend it when a parent comes up? That's how
Hmm.
I came up with the we allow cartoon like violence, not real world violence, because
Right.
I couldn't have a 15-minute conversation about violence. I had to summarize it. So that could be a good practice. So if you take care of those two things, then the rest of what we're going to have shared with you in a moment should be taken care of. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share a few things. Mike's going to share a few things
Mhm.
on some ideas on how this works.
Sure.
Um, First one is I actually have gaming events. So it's actual events, and I invite people to it. So we call it hangout nights or a gaming night. It's 7 p.m. I throw out some high schoolers or some college students and say, hey, we're gonna have a gaming night this Friday, and they all know it's at the gaming center.
Hmm.
We have Smash Bros tournaments, and we put on social media and we put on websites and invite the whole community. We have Rocket League tournaments. We have just gaming events. So if you have more than one system, and we have several students when we started out would bring in their Nintendo Switch, and so we had 5 or 6 Switches we would borrow for this tournament because the church
Hmm.
only owned 3. So we actually borrowed most of them, and that can easily. So if you want to get into this world, first thing you could do is just host some gaming tournaments, even if you're only inviting 5 or 6 people.
Kyle, when you do those gaming tournaments, this is an important question.
Yeah,
Is there a fee to enter?
great question. So this gets a little interesting. We do not offer a fee. 75% of all gaming tournaments usually charge people. In the Smash Bros. World, which is an actual world, the connecting point, a lot of people, you pay $5 and then they get a percentage of the pot. We decided not to charge any of our people an entrance fee because one, it could be considered as gambling, and we don't
Mhm.
necessarily want that.
Sure.
And two, we wanted as many people as possible to come in to our church and hang out, connect, get to know us. And if we charge people, we're limiting that. So we don't charge. There are prizes, gift cards and cash and all that for winners.
Hmm.
We have a junior tournament, which is 12 and under. So only 12 and under. We got 4-year-olds who are placed in third place with 20 other people in Smash Bros tournament, like 4-year-olds.
That's
It's
crazy.
crazy. Uh, but we do sell hot dog, popcorn, all that. We don't
Mhm.
make any money on the video game things, but we cover our costs with selling food and snacks.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
smart.
so a lot of times it's free, but there's a prize.
Okay.
I would I would say besides hosting events and open before youth group, the one thing that you need to be aware of is enter their world. So a lot of times we think students need to come to the church and come and hang out, um, and then that's what would connect with them. But as you know, like, you're a substitute teacher, right, Mike?
Hmm.
Do you find it way easier to connect to people in their world when you become a substitute teacher or you hang out and go to lunch for them, all that, right? Going into their school
Hmm.
world.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's the short answer. They're going to school, but they're not coming to church.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I know once again, in my situation, I know every single middle schooler, probably almost all of them by name. I know freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, mostly all by name, and a decent amount of the seniors. And uh, I can joke around with them and we have a good relationship while we're at school, but that doesn't mean that they're going to start coming to youth group,
Yeah.
right? And this is that, and like I'm in their world.
Yeah.
I'm a part of
And
what they're doing.
right. And so it's effective for that way. You need to treat video games as a different world and you need to
Hmm.
become a missionary in that. So you need
Hmm.
to enter their world. So that means hop on and play video games by yourself. Like hop on and try it in your
Yeah.
downtime, or kind of figure out, okay, I want to do Smash Bros tournament, or I want to buy a Nintendo Switch and buy Smash Bros. Play Smash Bros so you know what you're getting into. And
Yeah.
you can kind of learn some of the terminology. Like, how do you play this game?
Hmm.
You should know how to play. I
Yep.
love starting conversations about video games, just like someone would start conversations about cars or sports.
Yeah.
Ask like, okay, um, who's your go-to player for Smash Bros. Tournament? So like Mike, when you did play Smash, who was your best at?
Oh gosh. I really OG,
Yeah,
right? They don't
yeah, yeah.
have the new one has all these different a whole bunch
There's
of characters,
I
so
think
many.
80.
OG Super Smash Bros. I
Yeah,
played a lot as Dr. Mario.
really?
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know. And
You seem like a Dr.
Donkey
Mario
Kong
person.
also, because that one was yeah, it's
I love Pikachu. Yeah,
Pikachu was always I played a lot of
yeah,
Pikachu, for sure. And so, you know, everybody has a favorite something
yeah.
in every video game. Um, and
So
it's not always the same.
right.
Here's the thing. My favorite NFL team is the Chiefs.
Okay.
When I go and play franchise mode and I want to rebuild a team, they're not my favorite team to play as. I like to go
Okay.
take a really bad team and then go make them really good. And then we
Okay.
beat the Chiefs, and am I upset about it? Of course not. You know?
Yeah.
So, it's kind of a weird thing. So just,
Yeah.
their video game preference may be different than their real life preferences.
Yeah. So entering their world by getting to know them, learning their language. Like there's a certain language in the gaming world, and it's just better. Like NPC, noob, all of that kind of stuff. You have to learn that so you're not a noob. And if you don't know what noob is, you gotta Google it.
Yeah,
Um,
let you do your homework.
because they will definitely share that with you. The gaming world that I've known is it's so dark, and it's not because it's evil. It's so dark because the Christians and the people of light, they're not in that world as much. And so
Right.
they've kind of isolated themselves. And so it's only dark because there's not enough light in there. That's the only reason. It's not
Mhm.
because it's worse off than any other world, sports world, all of that. So go into
Mhm.
the world. Here's what I recommend: go on YouTube and or Twitch, which is kind of like a YouTube for gaming,
Mhm.
and look up Mr. Beast Gaming, or Dude Perfect Gaming. Those two are the best YouTube to introduce the world of gaming. Mr. Beast
Yeah.
Gaming and YouTube, or Dude Perfect Gaming, and it's just good people playing video games, and you can kind
Mhm.
of see how they interact, all of that.
Mhm.
Have you ever, Mike, used a video game illustration in one of your messages?
Um, yeah, I mean, there are definitely times I can't point to a
No,
certain
yeah, that's fine.
illustration, but there are definitely times where, yeah, you talk about something happening. I've used Roblox a ton of times.
Okay.
Been able to use things that have happened in Fortnite several times. I've been able to use certain events that have happened in Madden, like NFL, that been able to use, and maybe not necessarily always as a sermon illustration, but definitely a point in my sermon to where it's like, you know,
Yeah.
it is more engaging for them.
Here's what I found. If you're going to reach gamers, you got to speak like gamers.
Mhm.
So if gamers do come to your youth ministry and there's nothing that they connect it to, because using sports illustrations for a room of gamers, that could fall flat pretty quick. I have personally fallen
Yeah,
flat because I've used a sports analogy. And if people have no idea about sports, and not all,
yeah,
and a lot of gamers do sports and gaming, so don't hear me on that. But there are
different one.
situations where I've done a very nerdy situation, and I've used a football illustration, and half of them didn't know how to play football. And then I was like, okay, I missed the mark. So
Yeah,
I've really tried to increase my sermon illustrations that include gamer language.
yeah. Kyle, what do you know about brain rot? Right?
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
this is newer in the gaming world. Like, there's this game to steal a brain rot, and they're just these characters that are just dummy looking that make dummy noises, and
They're
you could
dumb.
buy them, and then you could steal them from people's bases, and it was this game, but it has become this big thing right now.
It's on Roblox,
Uh,
right?
yeah, and it's even on Fortnite too.
Oh, I didn't
And
know that. Okay.
Fortnite's become a lot more like Roblox, to where they offer a whole bunch of
Oh,
different kinds of tycoons, different game modes that people create and you can play. Um, Tung Tung Tung. Does that ring a
yeah,
bell?
yeah.
I'm
Tung
just
tung.
like, I ignored it for the longest time. I was like, shut up. Quit,
Like
quit
you're,
going tung tung tung.
it's Italian, but it's not Italian,
Yeah, and I'm just like, and so,
but it's
but he,
exploding in popularity.
it's a brain rot character, and they brought it to Fortnite, and they had it in the shop for only 2 days, and it had some of the highest sales.
Oh, I believe it. I
And
didn't know they knew that, but I would totally believe that.
uh, I don't know a lot about brain rot, but now seeing how big it is, it's now my responsibility. If you go to youth group this Wednesday or this Sunday or Monday or Tuesday, whatever day you do
Yeah.
youth group, go tung 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 and see what your students do. I'm
Yes,
so
and I want to hear the
serious.
stories. Contact us on social
Yeah,
media.
let us know what happens because it's real. Some of my students listen to our podcasts
Yeah.
and they know it's not meant for them, right?
No,
They
but
know that, like, they don't
we're
care how
glad
to
they're
run a
listening.
youth ministry. But they are listening right now, and they are probably going,
You're not
You know,
saying it right.
I'm not saying it right. I'm an old head. I
My
get it.
9-year-old was playing this on Roblox. I was like, "What is this game? And why is it speaking Italian?" And she's like, "No, no, no. This is worth $5 million, and I'm getting
Yeah.
$1 billion every hour." I'm like, "Wait, what? What? How much money you pay for this game?" She's like, "It's free, Dad." So,
Like,
Tum
when's your
Tum Tum
royalty check getting
Shamor.
here?
Yeah, I'm butchering that name. Okay,
Anyway,
so some of it's just culture.
yeah.
And here's the thing, you don't have to be cool to
No.
be a good youth pastor, but you do have to connect. And
Hmm.
sometimes just make an effort and ask questions. Students would love to teach you, okay?
Yeah.
Love to teach you about culture. So just ask. So here's a
Yeah.
couple quick sermon points or illustrations using gamer language that you can fit into it. I highly recommend coming up with some sermon series. You we called it leveling up, and it was going through the book of James. I'm talking about how to increase your faith. So
Hmm.
just use some gamer language to kind of connect with them, especially if you want to reach the gamers. So leveling up could equal spiritual growth or sanctification, whatever.
Hmm.
Identity does not equal rank, and so we talk about we earn our salvation. Like in video games, we can earn our rank up, but that's not
Hmm.
how salvation works. We don't earn our salvation,
Right.
and our identity shouldn't come from our achievements.
Right.
Teamwork, the body of Christ. So you need a teamwork
Sure.
in playing video games. Grinding. Okay, how
Yeah.
would you describe grinding, Mike? Like,
Well,
what would be grinding in a video game world? What
in
is
the
that?
video game world, uh, I'm glad that nobody's looking this up because you would get a whole bunch of different answers. So,
Not
uh,
dancing, not
nope,
dancing. I'm
nope.
talking about the video game
The
world.
video game world, grinding in a sense is, yeah, you're putting all of your time and effort to be better.
Yeah,
Right. And so you might play a video. For me, I remember for when I was a high schooler, Black Ops 2, Call of Duty was my favorite video game, probably one of my favorite video games of all time. Grinding for me meant it was double XP weekend, and I did not sleep for 3 days. And my goal was to get to the top level. And so grinding for video games looks different for every video game, but basically it's spending more time, putting in more effort because you want to be better or you want to reach a certain goal.
yeah, you're kind of grinding it out and you're just playing over and over and over again to increase that XP, which basically means experience.
Hmm.
So I did a series and we used the word grinding in it, but it was about spiritual disciplines,
Hmm.
that fasting and prayer and celebration, and there's all different types of spiritual disciplines,
Right.
and we use that illustration to kind of grind it out because you're growing in your faith.
Yeah.
Um, we talked about free will and how in a choice in a video game you choose, you could be good or bad. Like in the beginning of some of the video games, you could choose to be a bad guy. So I love this discussion question. This is okay. I have everyone raise their hand. Raise your hand if you chose to be a bad guy before, especially in like Star Wars. You can choose to be a
Hmm.
Sith or a Jedi. And then I said, okay, when you chose the bad guy, what percentage of your decisions were all bad? Like you never made a good decision. And some people were like, it was hard for me. Like I was 51% bad, but I was really 49% good because I had a hard time doing bad stuff, even though it
Yeah.
was my character. And so we had to
Hmm.
talk about that. It's like we'll talk about consciousness and or conscience, and we talked a little bit about discernment and all of that.
Hmm.
Do you know the phrase in the gaming world, a rat? Don't be a rat. That
Um,
is, it's new.
no, I don't think so.
Okay,
Maybe I
so
do, and I just it's
okay,
not here, but
it just came about in 2026. So it's taken from this game called Arc Raiders.
oh
And
yeah.
Arc Raiders is you play with other people and you go up and kind of explore this world and you got to collect resources and bring it back. But robots could kill you or other people could kill you and take your stuff. And you all have to go back to extraction point and go down because that's underground is safe. So you're waiting, you hit the elevator button and you're waiting for the elevator. A rat is someone who comes in and shoots you while you're waiting because your backpack's all full,
Right.
kills you and takes your stuff. And so it's a
And then the
rat. And so
elevator opens,
then the
and
elevator and they go down freely and you're
yeah, yeah,
stuck and
yeah,
dead.
yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
it really makes people mad.
Yeah.
Um, And so I just did a message a couple weeks ago talking about what is kind of a rat thing to do in the church world. And we talked about church hurt, and we talked about how people always one up them on their stories. Like one person says a really powerful
Yeah.
spiritual story, and then someone else, well, I actually had the gang life, or like their life was worse, and God somehow redeemed them more.
Yeah.
And we talked about being a rat is sometimes more painful because you have an expectation that you're going to be home safe. All you have to do is just wait for the elevator, and this guy comes in, and you didn't start a fight, and so it's just one of those things where it could be very easy to use some illustrations.
Yeah.
Do you have anything like that? I'm surprising you, Mike. Do you have any gamer language or anything like that that's going to be
Oh
an
goodness.
illustration?
I didn't prepare myself, and I'm sure
I
if you
know.
gave me some time, I'm sure I would
Okay, you're fine.
come up with something, but I don't think
I'm
I.
so used to this, so that's why I'm the reason to ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So the next thing is I've had multiple parent informational meetings about esports and video games. I live in a pretty big city, and there's several people who work in the esports realm. They are broadcasters, or they're game designers,
Hmm.
or they're admissions counselors for several colleges in the world of video games. And I've had them come in and speak to parents. And basically, I gave this hour-long presentation. How can your students get scholarships for playing video games? That's what I called it.
Yeah.
And so they came in and learned about what programs that are nationwide programs where you could go to get scholarship by playing video games in college,
Hmm.
go to what programs or what colleges are the best for programming or designing video games.
Yeah.
And then also, what is some healthy boundaries that a parent could have when it comes to their children boundaries? So this could be a ministry not just to the students, but also the parents.
Right.
Educating parents about video games could be a pretty big ministry opportunity that
Hmm.
you have. Have you ever had a lot of pushback or questions from parents when it comes to video games?
No, and rural ministry looks one or two ways. It's either really loose and you get a lot of free will in the things that you do, or
Yeah.
it's really uptight and you can't do
Yes.
anything. There's not really a good in between. And so luckily, in a way, it's not always the best thing, but parents are totally okay with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
They
Because you limit the video games they do play.
I mean, yeah, I'm not out here. I'm making sure that they aren't going home saying, I killed somebody today, or I went to the strip club in GTA,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
I whatever. The
Right.
worst thing that they can say is that so and so beat me in 2K, or I got a victory royale in Fortnite, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the very worst thing that could come out of it, unless a fight breaks out and somebody gets hit with a controller. But yet again, that's not a controller problem. That's a
Right.
human. That's a whole
Right.
nother
That's a whole nother problem. That's an anger
situation.
problem. That's a boundaries problem.
So
Everything else. Yeah.
always look at, yeah, what's the worst thing that could happen? If you
In
if, if you
our,
look at your games and you're like, hey, the worst case scenario is that a student, you know, comes up and they do something inappropriate in a game. If that's the worst case scenario, then you probably shouldn't have that game.
yeah. Yeah.
If the worst case scenario is that they lost, okay. Like maybe that's a good game that you should have.
And honestly, our job as parents, our job as youth pastors or youth workers or authority figures is not to make students feel good.
Hmm.
That's a terrible, terrible way to lead to healthy boundaries. And what I'm saying that is it's okay that a student loses in a video game. Like
Hmm.
that's something that should happen. Like um I encourage my two daughters. I have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. And if we play a video game, we have to play to the end, even if they're losing and they're losing bad. Nope, we finished the game. Sorry, that's how it works. Because I want them to experience loss. And they're not really
Hmm.
sporty, although they could do a sport. They just don't have the competitive instinct. but they love playing video games. But there are some video games that keep score, and we play as a family. And sometimes I lose, and sometimes they lose, but we can't quit because there's this aspect. And it's the same thing with a sport. You can't quit on a soccer game just because your team is losing. But for
Mhm.
whatever reason, parents haven't connected the importance of having your student have boundaries or also losing. And
Yeah.
it's an aspect that it could be a good teaching moment.
Well, and something that I was going to mention just a little bit earlier, we talked about this idea of you do not have to be cool
Yes.
to play video games, right? We
Right.
talked about this a little bit. Our goal as a youth pastor, as a youth worker, your goal isn't to be the cool youth pastor. Okay. It's nice when you are. It really is. Okay.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, our goal as a youth pastor is to make the right decisions for our students, right? Whether it's something that they agree with, whether it's something that they don't, whether, whatever the case may be, you, you're not, Jesus didn't say, hey, you guys are going to be the most cool people in the world,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so when we look at video games and we're doing these things, the games that you pick are important, and
Yeah.
students will not always agree. They might think that you're a bum. Another video game term, kind of a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? They may not like the decision that you make, right? Oh, but why can't we play Call of Duty? I've had that one happen. Why can't we play Call of Duty? Oh, it's because I said so, and it's not what we're doing here, right? You
Right.
have your reasons, and so don't try and be the cool youth pastor that has video games. Be the responsible youth pastor that allows their students to play the right video games.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So we'll wrap up with two more things. I-
Tung tung things.
yeah, there you go. Two for more. Now you got that in my head. There's some things that it's not hard to start a video game ministry, but if you start off with some good intentions at the beginning and you are very strategic, it's going to be so much easier than trying to backtrack later on.
Yeah.
Like playing a video game and then you realize, oh, that was inappropriate, then you take it back. That's harder to do than
Yeah.
not even offering it.
Yes.
I would not endorse Call of Duty in any way, even though you might be okay with it privately playing. I
Hmm.
still don't think I would do it as a church, simply
Yeah.
because how real world violence works.
Sure.
But I'll end with this. Have you heard of Acts 2 teaching versus Acts 17 teaching? Mike, have you ever heard of that?
Not, I mean,
I'm sure
not
you
like
have those
super.
memorized, those books that
Yeah, yeah,
memorized.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard of it, but not something that, you know.
So, whenever I've preached about video games and video game ministry and teaching Gen Z and preaching about Gen Z and all of that and how different it is compared to the youth ministry I grew up with 25 years ago.
Hmm.
So here's what the I don't know who came up with this illustration, but it's the Acts 2 versus Acts 17 teaching. So in Acts chapter 2, okay, this is right after Jesus' resurrection, all of that. Peter preaches to Jews in Jerusalem. And he gives here's Jesus is the Messiah, okay? And basically um a short sermon, um you know, maybe 10 minutes, and the Holy Spirit comes and people come to Christ, and 3,000 people come to Christ, okay?
Yeah.
When Peter preaches this short message about the Messiah, okay? Now, fast forward, the church starts and grows a little bit. Paul, the Apostle Paul, in Acts chapter 17, he goes up to this place called Mars Hill in Greece, and it's where the philosophers come and discuss deep theology or philosophy and all different kinds of religions, and kind of in Athens, I think. And so he comes up and he sees this statue to the unknown God. And he says, okay, let me tell you about what I think this unknown God could be. And he talks about how you guys think the truth is relative and everyone has different worlds and there's thousands of gods out there and everyone is okay for everything, right? But the average person has no knowledge of God and no knowledge of Jewish law. So Paul actually backs up and he doesn't talk about Jesus first. He goes clear back to creation And
Hmm.
he lays the foundation of why Jesus even exists, because sin entered the world and
Hmm.
all of this. And then he talks about Jesus at the end. And it says in verse 34 in Acts chapter 17, some became believers. So
Hmm.
here's what I believe we're living in an Acts 17 world and no longer Acts chapter 2. Acts chapter 2, you had basic knowledge of faith. You had basic knowledge of God. Like the
Yeah.
Peter,
Everybody had it
yes,
memorized. It was just it was
right.
available in your mind.
Most of them, right, most of them were Jews who knew that there was a God. And he just
Hmm.
simply pointed out Jesus, and 3,000 people came to Christ.
Hmm.
Paul had to go all the way back to set up the foundation of truth before they could even talk about Jesus. And it
Right.
says some became believers. So I believe if we're living in an Acts chapter 17 mindset, and our culture is fighting on even the concept of truth or what is truth, then we need to adjust how we do it. We need to adjust our expectations and we need to adjust what we talk about. And video games can be that altar of a false god, of an unknown god. Like Paul literally used a pagan illustration in his sermon. That's
Hmm.
like using a video game in the sermon nowadays. Like it's unheard of back
Yeah.
then, but we oh, it's in scripture, so it's very important. That's the mindset we need to have is realize that's what they're related. They know that world. They don't know the Christian world. But we can't simply say, well, Jesus is true. We have to show them why Jesus even existed. And scripture can be a big part of that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my challenge. If you're going to go in this world, realize it's not yours and you're entering in something different. Therefore, you need to be a missionary and you adjust your customs, not expect everyone to adjust their customs to match you.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I really like what you said there, and um, it's all about meeting students where they are. Um, Once again, it doesn't mean that we're gonna when they're making bad decisions, we're right there next to them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's about taking those things and, as we talked about, redeeming them, right, and making them something that can using it as an outlet to change the world and show the light of Jesus. Video games, if you guys can't didn't pick up on this, we could sit here and talk for hours on end.
Yeah.
There's so much to say about video games.
Yeah.
What I want you to leave with after these last two episodes is this. Do your research on video games.
Yeah.
Talk to your church leadership. Talk to your students.
Yeah. They could help too.
Make make a wise decision
Yeah.
based on your culture, based on your background. If it's uncomfortable for you, if it's awkward, take a step into it. Take part in their world. Lean into it. Play a few video games. Kick your feet
Dare,
up.
dare we say embrace the awkward and realize you're not going to know
Embrace
everything? Yeah.
the awkward because this is something that is not going to go away. And that if we do this right, I truly believe that if we do this right, we can use the video game world as a missions field
Yeah.
and change the world for years to come.
Yeah. Uh, some of the research you can just Google it, ChatGPT it now, I guess.
Hmm.
But there's a couple websites that I have found, and there's not a lot. More and more is coming, but there's a couple websites before we end the episode. I just want to share with people if you're
Yeah.
looking for it, and they should be still up to date. But it's I don't know when you're listening to this episode. It might
Yeah.
be 2035 when you listen to it, so I don't know when this would be available. But gamerfaith.com, gamerfaith.com, everydaygamers.com, everydaygamers.com, godsquadchurch.com, gamechurch.com, and christcenteredgamer.com. So all of them either have resources, blog posts, reviews on video games, helpful hints, Bible studies. A lot of it is free. We have a track that we hand out. It's the Book of John in gamer language, 20 ways to level up your faith. That's what we hand out just some for fun. And we play it up like, hey, it's super corny. We totally play it up
Yeah,
and offer it to them. And people are like, oh, that's fun. And so we're talking about we're handing out Bibles because of the Book of John to people who would never open the Bible, and they're like, oh, that's cool. And there's like gamer language in it. So
yeah,
we have some fun with that. So that's what I would say is part of your research. Go ahead and do that.
yeah. Well, Kyle, thank you for sharing that. Kyle is very just knowledgeable in this area, and I know a little bit, but this is something I know for sure that Kyle is passionate about,
Yeah.
and I'm behind him on that. So,
Thanks.
if you guys have questions, comments, concerns, bring them up to us. We're happy to answer those things the best that we can. As always, thank you guys for listening to the Embrace the Awkward podcast. If this episode made you nod your head, laugh out loud, or feel slightly uncomfortable, we did our job. Mission accomplished. Right? Connect with us on Instagram or YouTube at the ETA podcast. That's at symbol the ETA podcast. Or you can swing by our website, embracetheawkward.com, and we'll have some updated merch and some other awkward, nice, cool, fun things that you guys can spend your real life money on to help us uh, be able to go to McDonald's. I think is the goal for this week. I'd like to go to McDonald's one time.
Okay. Yeah, there we go.
So I don't know. Kyle is going to spend his
I'll
dividends,
get
but
fries.
we'll split a McChicken. So hit subscribe, leave a review if it's funny. We'll put it on the screen. We'll read it on air, and we'll have a good time with it. It'll be awesome. Uh, as always, remember, awkward isn't something to avoid, it's something to embrace. Thank you guys for being a part of this journey. We'll see you next time.
Bye.